Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about Assassin's Creed Shadows and the problem with Assassin's Creed. Now, a lot of people, if you've maybe seen on the internet, have been coming at this from the angle of the kind of Black Samurai, and that's not even where I'm going with it. Obviously, I think anyone with eyes can see that it is a shoehorn diversity type thing that Ubisoft's doing, but that's not even my issue with this game. And of course, I have no problem with people talking about it because, the right to feel the way they feel about that, but this is not where I'm coming at the angle from this game. What I'm talking about is the fact that these are no longer even Assassin's Creed games anymore. And I think this has been an issue that a long time people have been feeling, that this is no longer the Assassin's Creed of old, the Assassin's Creed that many of us kind of, started liking to begin with. And it's just kind of, gotten further away from what made it what it was, and it's just kind of turned into this thing that is completely unrecognizable to Assassin's Creed fans. Now, I've been an Assassin's Creed fan for a very long time. I didn't start exactly with the first game. I got in probably around maybe like 2012. So a few games that come out already, but I played them all like really quick, back to back to back, the first few, and then I started with, I believe Assassin's Creed 3 was the first that I played like after release, and I became a huge fan. I was completely sucked into the story, and I know a lot of people, tend to miles vary on whether they care about some of the older Assassin's Creed games with like the mechanics and stuff, and I can definitely see that going back, that there might be a little wonky in some areas. But really sucked me into Assassin's Creed is the story. And that was such a huge integral part of these games back in the day, was the story and the characters, specifically with characters like Altair and Ezio and Edward Kenway and some of those like main protagonists that we had back in the early days of Assassin's Creed. And they really haven't gotten away. They've really gotten away from that storytelling in these more recent games, and they've become this big giant open world RPG type games with pick your own characters, customizable type characters that don't really have the same impact as the characters and protagonists that we had back in the earlier Assassin's Creed games. So looking at this trailer, we see that two different people that are going to be in this game, because we get the one girl who is more of like what you would think of as an assassin character, more stealthy. The hood, even though the hood still doesn't have the little thing on it, that was just a nitpick. I hate when they don't have the hoods like that, and the fact that they have their hoods down most of the game. It's like when superheroes in MCU movies have their masks off for half the movie. It's like, come on now, leave your hood up. And then of course, if we also see here, we have what's his face, the Black Samurai guy, who is, at least the way that they're marketing it, I haven't heard an official word, but I mean they might have said it, that you're playing as two players. You're playing as the female, who's the more like Assassin's Creed looking chick, and then you have this guy, which is the Black Samurai guy, who there was a Black Samurai, and I know they say in history, so they obviously had to run with that by adding him into the game. But my main problem with the character of, at least the dual play character, this gives me a lot of Assassin's Creed Syndicate vibes. And if you know that game, you play as two characters. You play as Evie and Jacob, the brother and sister, who are assassins. And one, Evie is the more like what you think of as an assassin, stealthy, kind of follows the creed and stuff like that. And then you have Jacob, who is like this brawler fighter guy. He doesn't really do stealth. He doesn't really kind of fit like an assassin, even though he is technically one. And this is kind of the same vibe that I'm getting here. Is we have this guy who's going to be like the brawler fighter. He doesn't look like he's going to have any stealth components to his all, and he's just going to be wearing the armor and stuff. He's not even going to probably be an assassin. And then we have over here, we have the more typical assassin, stealthy, sneaking up, fighting the hood, all that sort of stuff that we have. And then they're going to kind of be combining, and they're going to be able to play back and forth as one another, is what it appears to be from the trailer. But I really hate that kind of like using both a brawler and a stealth person. I think that that's kind of, it's kind of stupid in Assassin's Creed, because the main crux of Assassin's Creed is stealth, and they've gotten so far away from it. I'm not sure if you follow Assassin's Creed, you probably had some similar complaints, but they've gotten so far away from the stealth. And the thing about Assassin's Creed is the character could be brawler. You could go out and fight and like that, but you had that option. But you also had the option to be stealthy, to do things from the shadows, which, I mean, if you think about it, that's one of the tenets of the Assassins is we work in the shadows. But in the trailer, I mean, the game's even called Shadows. But yet, it seems like with this samurai character, we're going to just be running around doing fighting, brawling. It's not going to be a very stealth portion of the game. And the more stealth portion is going to come from the assassin, her, or wherever she is in this trailer. But anyway, so this has kind of been where they have been diverging. So if you think about it, ever since Syndicate, which actually had the same problem, things have kind of changed. And not that I liked Origins and some of the other stuff that they've done in other games, but they've kind of gotten away from one major thing: assassins. In basically every of one of these new games, they have to completely cut ties with the assassins almost. Some games even having absolutely nothing to do with assassins. I'm looking at Odyssey. And then you have games like Valhalla, who they have assassins in it, but he's just like assassin adjacent. He has nothing. He's not like tied technically to the assassins. He's just a Viking who has assassin friend, and he takes their blade and whatnot. But he's really just a Viking, and that kind of gives me the vibe that they're going to be with this. That they're just going to be he's a samurai and she's a fighter, but they're not really. Maybe she's got some brief connection to the Hidden Ones. I don't know, but it's still like the fact that they even call them the Hidden Ones. And I get that we're in the past, but I really hated that about Assassin's Creed. They don't even have the Assassin's Brotherhood anymore. It's now the Hidden Ones and the Ancient Ones and all this different stuff. And instead of having the Assassins and the Templars, which is what we have in the more modern games, or I guess in the older games that are in more modern times, I should say. And that's been like a really big problem that they've had, is just getting away from everything that made it Assassin's Creed in the first place. The stealth, the ties to the Brotherhood, the ties to the tenets of the assassins. And Ubisoft is essentially just taking these games and they're wanting to make, like essentially Valhalla, we want to make a Vikings game, so let's just tie it to Assassin's Creed to get the name recognition and the boost. But we really just don't want anything to do with Assassin's Creed. We just want to make it a Vikings game. And this is the same thing. They just want to make a samurai RPG, but they're tying it to the Assassin's Creed name, where it has probably very little to do with the actual Assassin's Creed mythology and lore, which is what they've so far varied away from in these games. Now, obviously, you look at Origins, I understand why they made it the Hidden Ones, and it's the forming of the Brotherhood and all that. I was like, okay, I can live with that. But then they should have started going to Assassins in these other games that are taking place after the fact, and they really just have not gotten back to the roots of Assassin's Creed. But anyway, the other thing that these newer Assassin's Creed games have failed in is the fact of modern day stuff. The original games, the modern day was so intricately tied to the story with what was going on with Desmond and them in modern day, as they obviously the main crux of the game is what's going on in the past, Ezio, Altair, all that stuff. But what was going on in modern day was just as crucial and integral to the story. And ever since spoiler alert, I guess, they killed Desmond in Assassin's Creed 3, everything just kind of went downhill from that, aside from Black Flag, which is a really good game, but obviously the modern day is not anywhere close to what it should be after that. And then they've really never recovered from that aspect, and they've kind of intricated and brought in these new character to be the modern day person, but she's just not at all like very interesting or tied to the story. They haven't fleshed her out or what's going on with her that much, and it's just kind of like, let's just replace Desmond with someone. But they have not really given much care to the modern day story, even though they've done all this stuff. They brought in what's his name from Valhalla, came back to the future, and so now he's part of the present day stuff. I don't know. They're sure they will integrate that into somehow as well. Speaking of Mirage, that is the only game that I have not finished, so I'm sure that will maybe tie in more information because I haven't finished playing that one. But the modern day games have just not done the modern day very well, and that's been another reason that this has suffered so much. But just looking at this, it doesn't give me any Assassin's Creed vibes at all. Like, even if they didn't have like the hidden blade here, the hood, like there would be there's absolutely nothing in this trailer that ties anything to Assassin's Creed at all, which should be the biggest thing you should be trying to do. All this is advertising a probably an open world RPG samurai game. Okay, just make an open world RPG samurai game. But they've attached it to Assassin's Creed because they want the name recognition. They just want to use the Assassin's Creed franchise to make these games that have nothing to do with Assassin's Creed. So Assassin's Creed has definitely gone downhill in recent years, and this is just looking like it's going to be further proof of that happening. When I first watched the trailer, I was like, it kind of looked interesting, but the more I thought about it and the more I thought about the play type of the characters, about the brawler and the stealth kind of being separate, and then the way that it's being structured, I think that the more I didn't like it. Like, what they should have done if they were going to go this route is just made her the main protagonist, and then the samurai guy should have just been a side character that was like helping her in the story. But being a playable character that's just a complete brawler fighter is not Assassin's Creed at all. And he would have been better not being a playable character, but just being a side character in the story, and then just having it focus on the one main protagonist. Because that's another thing, because of the fact that they've made it in recent years where you can either pick your protagonist or you can switch between making a female or male protagonist, the main character really doesn't mean much anymore. They've gotten just completely nothing because they're so like based on how your choices go and what you do with the characters a lot of the time, that the character doesn't even really have much of a personality or anything to them like they did back in the original protagonist days of Ezio and Edward and Altair and different things like that. What's best if they do in these games is if they just use one protagonist, don't let you pick, just make the protagonist, and that's who you play as. Focus on the story and the how it's connected to the protagonist and how they're connected to the Brotherhood. That's what they do, because that was the thing about Assassin's Creed. Yes, we got to explore all these different time periods and cultures and different places around the world, and that's really cool, and that's a really big part of the draw of Assassin's Creed, but it has to be tied to the lore, it has to be tied to the Assassin's Creed Brotherhood and their fight against the Templars. And in recent years, we have gotten absolutely none of that. And like I said, they don't even call them assassins anymore, they're the hidden ones, which just flies all over me that they don't even call them Assassin's Brotherhood anymore. So this game does not look like it's going to be following the original Assassin's Creed. It's going to be more like the new. So I'm kind of disappointed. We'll see if I give it a shot when it comes out this fall, but I am not really happy with what I'm seeing so far. The gameplay trailer will be integral in me deciding how I feel more about this, but just from what I've seen, I just kind of get the sense that's where they're going with the Syndicate vibe, brawler, stealth, character that shouldn't even be in the game because as a playable character, but should be a side character, and just completely taking away from Assassin's Creed lore, and a trailer that has really nothing to do with Assassin's Creed. But that's really just kind of my general thoughts on all this. I definitely want to dive deeper into Assassin's Creed, maybe in a future video, and the lore and the different characters and maybe the older games and how it's tied. But this is kind of just my thoughts on how this is tied into Assassin's Creed Shadows and going forward. Ubisoft is definitely just using this Assassin's Creed name to make these generic timepiece games that may be fine, maybe not, but it's really nothing to do with Assassin's Creed. So that's my issues with it. Let me know what you guys think, and we'll see you guys in the next video.